Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast episode will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, please do not continue to watch or listen until you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast. Today, we are covering Dead End, which came out in 2003. But before we go into our review, let's grab our cups and talk about tea. So today, once again, it's Republic of Tea. And I'm doing the Cranberry Blood Orange Tea. And it's got black tea, cranberry, orange peels, blood orange, and cranberry bits.
I needed caffeine. So I went with, again, Republic of Tea. High Calf Teas, and it's the Ginger Mint Green. And this one has green tea, ginger, spearmint, peppermint, and green tea extract. So it's got an extra oomph of green tea.
Yes. So, but for our tea sippers out there, brew yourself a cup of tea, sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy the review. So for the summary, this family is going on a Christmas party trip to see family, and the important thing to note is the father ends up like falling asleep at the wheel, and you hear them screaming whenever they're about to hit an oncoming car, and shortly after that, he comes across like this woman dressed in white, and one by one they start getting killed off. And then the twist of the movie is that accident, or the potential, or the near accident in the beginning of the movie actually was an accident, and they're all dead, except for the daughter and her baby. But yes, so for entertainment, so this movie, I will start off with some of my biggest pet peeves and go off from there. So I will say the concept of the movie is really interesting, but the execution and the way that some of the characters were written are my biggest pet peeve. Like Richard, I feel like was the most poorly written character, because is essentially, it seemed like someone who does not know teenagers wrote a teenager role. So this teenager, he's being like, ugh, like, you know, that old like angsty, rebellious type of like.
I feel like it was played up to an 11. Like it was dialed up to an 11 from what it would actually be. Yeah,
and he was making constant jokes about her boyfriend, or his sister's boyfriend, being gay, and he's making a lot of like drug jokes. It's just way over the top. And at that time, I was in school during that time, and yes, gay jokes were a lot more of a thing then. They were a lot more accepted, but just the extent, it's like, dude.
Yeah, they went a little overboard with it.
Yeah, it was obnoxious. Like, I was really hoping he'd be the first one to die, and I am still upset that he was only the second. But anyways, my other biggest pet peeve with this movie is because it's like they're driving and they're driving and they're driving and they're not getting anywhere, and it gets to the point where they run out of gas. So it's obvious that they're driving for a very long time. I think the father even mentioned that they had been driving for about 150 miles, I want to say.
Around 140.
But so it's like, the point is it's supposed to be a very drawn out long length of time, But the cuts in the movie very much show something a lot more quick pace. So as you can, as it's easy to make sense of, is like if you have fast cuts in a movie, that's going to mean like a lot of quick events and stuff like that. But the fact that it's supposed to be drawn out so slow, the cuts did not make sense with the movie. And then, but the cut that drove me the most nuts is whenever they're turning around and driving around the daughter, and it's like cut, cut, cut. It's like, I don't understand. It's like, it's okay to have artistic cuts, but in that particular scene, it made no sense whatsoever. So, because it's like, with that cut aside, if it had quick cuts in other parts of the movie, I could maybe justify it as, oh, well, since the daughter is the only one alive, she's probably fading in and out of consciousness and stuff like that. It would make sense that those quick cuts are her like quickly coming into consciousness and then fading back into unconsciousness. But just the whole, it just doesn't make sense. Let's see. Another thing that drove me nuts is the fake jump scare with Richard. That was just stupid. Like, the fact that he's like, oh, fake jump scare, but they even edit in like a monster type of noise of him getting sucked in. It's like, it's a fake jump scare, but you're editing it as if it's a real one. It's just, ugh. And then, and then my last pet peeve before I say some positive things about the movie, is the music. To me, it really sounded like they were using a lot of stock music, because the music seemed kind of to not quite fit the scenes exactly. But in addition to that, the music was just too loud. And at that time, they just tended to have a lot of background music that was way too loud. But I still think that is just unnecessary. But as far as good points to the movie, though, I really like the concept of the fact that, you know, the daughter is seeing all of these things. They're not actually happening, but you could interpret it as, oh, maybe it's their lost souls going through the highway and finally accepting their fate, or maybe they're in purgatory, or it's just the daughter having a fucking fever dream while she's like unconscious, because she's like, right, because there's a part where she's clinically dead for a little bit. So it's just, and whenever you initially die, you're pumped full of like these chemicals that can make you see things. And so it would make sense that it's possible that she could have just thought of that. So, but yeah. But overall, it's not, at least for me. Wait, did I say my rating?
No.
So my rating, I rated it a 6.5. And the reason being is the concept was really interesting. Like, I was hating the movie until the end. I'm like, okay, I get the movie. But the execution was so poor. I feel like there was so much else that they could have done to make it better. But it also wasn't the worst movie that we've seen. It's just kind of one of those movies where I'm like, it's an interesting concept. It's not like it hasn't been done before. So I would gravitate towards movies that have done similar concepts but better over this one. But if you just feel like watching a kind of creepy movie on Christmas, I feel like it's worth at least one watch. So, but yeah.
So this was a rewatch for me. I had actually seen it before, and it was all right the first time I watched it, but it actually got better for me for this rewatch. Now that I know what the twist is and what's actually going on, it made certain things stand out more to me and make more sense to me. So I give it a 7. I still think that their execution was off, and they could have done a lot better with certain things, realism and entertainment wise, just for the viewership. But I'm pretty sure it was like a straight to streaming type movie and all, and some of those are really good.
You mean
This
straight to
one-
video because streaming
Yeah.
didn't exist yet?
True, this is true. Straight to video. But this one was not quite there.
This is like pre-Blumhouse.
It was, yes. I feel like it did better than some Blumhouse movies. Blumhouse is really hit or miss lately, especially.
Really hit or miss.
But I do like certain aspects. So apart from the crappy stock music that is usually, yes, a little too loud, otherwise most of the sound effects are very, very deliberate. So a lot of the, like when they turn the radio on and it's a lady screaming and you hear a baby as well in the background and she's crying for help on the phone later and saying my baby can't breathe, she's dying, I need help. You're hearing, as I interpreted it, what's actually going on in the crash. So anytime they try to tune into like an electrical source, like a phone or a radio or something, you're hearing that. Toward the end of the movie, when the daughter is seeing a figure, like a shadowy figure going around the car and all, you start to hear like an EKG flatline, which I interpreted it as her starting to flatline and the EMTs trying to revive her. Because you hear like a slight thud, almost like the paddles going off, and then you start to hear her heartbeat going as well. And you also hear thumps, almost like ambulance doors closing, or like them putting her in the ambulance. So a lot of the background sound effects are extremely deliberate, and I didn't notice them or pay attention to them very much the first time I watched it. So knowing what's actually going on in the movie really helps you take in a lot of the other background kind of things that you wouldn't necessarily notice before, which I do appreciate. I also love and hated that they showed several different kinds of reactions to stressful situations like this. Like, some people just went catatonic, others went kind of crazy, others delved into substance abuse or got angry and aggressive. It did show several different stages of loss or how people deal with very stressful, chaotic situations or upsetting situations. So it was very interesting to see that. I feel like, again, they dialed it up just a little bit on certain characters, but it was interesting to see the diversity there. And a couple of the actors did really, really well.
Yeah, for sure.
But-
Great acting.
Yes,
In
but
general.
with the script, Richard definitely was a low point. The dad was, oh my god, send CPS immediately. But this is why I voted against the fan.
Well, I am extremely comfortable now.
Yeah, I'm
so,
sure you are.
I am in
I
heaven.
hope so.
Yes, it was
Hope
totally.
it was worth it.
Yes, it was worth whatever editing hell I'll have to deal with later.
Okay. Well, so Richard was definitely my least favorite character. I do feel a little bad for the boyfriend. I forget his name.
Brad.
Brad. Yes. Generic Brad. But he was a sweet guy, and he seemed very caring. He seemed to really enjoy the company of, you know, the family for the most part, and his girlfriend, and was really, really into the girlfriend. Even had plans to propose to her
Yeah.
when this whole sad situation happened. You do feel kind of bad for the guy finding out that the girlfriend was planning on breaking up with him instead. And that he was just trying to be a nice guy, talking to the lady with the baby and just
Yeah.
making small talk, even if it was just out of sheer awkwardness, awkward silence. But he was trying to be nice.
Yeah.
But it was sad when he died, and he died horribly. But that was, yeah. You aren't sad when a couple other characters go, but he was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
I do appreciate how the deaths were kind of varied, and you do wonder. This movie does kind of make you wonder, even with its low budgetness, how what actually is going on, especially on a first watch. Is it a killer stalking them down the highway? Is it a ghostly lady in white? Is it, you know, just them going crazy? What's going on? Or are they all actually dead and they're just realizing they're dead? So I do appreciate the guessing there that they do, and they don't just straightforward come out and say it, but they also don't like try to make it 5 different things.
Yeah.
They're vague only to a point.
Yeah.
That being said, they still fell a little short on the execution, but it is worth at least a couple watches. Again, first watch is going to be kind of for the most part. Once you know what's going on and you know what to look for, it does make the movie better, in my opinion.
And you, at the end of the movie, you talk about the additional noises did make me appreciate the movie. They made me appreciate the movie a little more.
Yes.
But
Once you know what to look for or listen for, it makes more sense.
yep. But
So,
ready to run into realism?
let's do it.
Okay.
I want to
So
actually try this first. Now that
yes.
I have said my
Please.
piece.
Well, I will jump in. So for realism, I would rate this a 3.5. The blood orange is pretty good too. It doesn't have as much orangey taste as I was hoping for, but it's good. And it's not like bitter black.
This
tea.
is about what I expected from it, honestly. The ginger's not too spicy. Like, because, you know, ginger
subtle.
has a bite to
Yeah.
it usually. This one's very mild, very smooth, but you still kind of taste it in the back. The peppermint is there, but it's not like punch you in the mouth peppermint, which I also appreciate. And it just, both flavors blend really well with the green tea. Mm-hmm. And there's no like grassy, bitter green tea taste. It's
Yeah.
smooth. It's good green tea.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But anyways, for realism, okay, so these are kind of random nitpicks. So I'm just going to bullet them off, and then Jess can just wrap it all up in a nice little package. So first, walking in heels. Second, the shotgun that the mother fired that ended up hitting the father in the leg. I call BS on that because, first of all, the way she is holding it, it was very much like chest level.
Yeah.
So it would have hit him in the chest.
Yeah, we were both having issues with that
Yes.
while watching it. Mhm.
And in addition to that, it was a shotgun. So it's going to spread out. Shotgun wounds are very messy.
Yeah, it was not a rifle. It was a pump action shotgun.
Yeah.
And the type of ammo that they loaded into it was buckshot.
Yeah.
It was not a bullet. It was a buckshot, which is a
Yeah.
bunch of BBs going everywhere.
Yeah. And then the father drinking and driving, like of course, there's people that drink and drive, but the fact that the family is like, oh, I'm going to be safe in the car and I'm going to let my dad who's been drinking heavily drive. This is fine.
This was not a bottle of wine
He's chugging it.
Or Moscato or anything. This is whiskey. It was a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah. Yep. And then there's a part where the father says got him whenever he's shooting the shotgun at the black car. But this is just a movie error, but I knock it from the realism. The windshield wasn't even broken. So in real life, if someone was like, oh, I got him, but the windshield wasn't even broken.
I feel like he thought that because it stopped, but there was definitely no damage on the car.
Yeah.
So either he just really sucks at using a shotgun or it did 0 damage to the car.
Yeah, and then the dad running into the barbed wire, like it was right basically at eye level. I know it was dark. I mean, them even deciding to go into the woods instead of continuing to drive was a dumb idea to begin with. But the barbed wire, like him just walking into it, that just, no. Like, I can understand if you absolutely can't see and you feel like a little poke. But even still, if you can't see, put your arms in front of you, because better your hands to be messed up than your face. It's like your hands.
Well, and with that scene, you see chain link fence on either side. It's like a panel of the chain link was damaged at another point in time or something, and they just put barbed wire at different intervals just to kind of close off the area from animals. So you can clearly see the chain link on either side. And when the light just barely goes over the empty space, you can see that there's something in the middle there. There's like 5 or 6 different layers of barbed wire. Like levels, not layers, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
So you're not going to miss it.
Yep. But my last nitpick is when the daughter is walking and she gets blood on her shoulder, which for me, my immediate instinct would be, oh shit, get out of the way and then look up. But no, she's like, I'm going to stand here, look up, and the blood was just falling on her. And she still, it took her like 2 or 3 seconds to finally move.
And then she screamed and stayed in the same place. Like every girl in a movie, in a horror movie especially, ever.
Yeah.
It's insulting.
Yeah, so like the special effects for like the wounds and stuff were actually pretty impressive. So it wasn't a matter of the effects being like, they actually did blood pretty well. So it wasn't a matter of like the special effects making it seem less realistic. It's just the way that the characters acted, the way that the things that they could get away with, the trouble that they got themselves in. It's just, it's like they're just doing it for movie's sake without it actually organically happening within these characters. But anyways, well, what do you rate for realism?
So I give it a 3. They get away with a fair amount normally, or they would have, because of what's going on and what they reveal at the end. But again, the execution fell short. And if you're going to do it that way, at least be consistent with certain things. Like you said with the sound effect, with the monster in the stroller, when he's playing a prank on his family. Yeah. That was not necessary. You could have just had him screaming and it would have been the same effect. And it actually would have made more sense if it was just him screaming, considering it was supposed to be empty and they showed that it was empty.
Yep.
So, things like that, things like, they didn't really expand on the Lady in White, which made me kind of sad.
Yeah, because those legends are very popular, and I thought it was going to be like their own version of the Lady in White.
It made me a little sad, but I know it was a lot of their intrigue. It just, if you're going to mention it, at least do some of it a little bit, you know?
And the Lady in White, was that like, do you think the other driver maybe? Like,
it was supposed to be, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because she was the one with the baby.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. The drinking and driving, with him being able to stay in the lane with almost a full bottle of whiskey in him, is BS. I know some people have a fairly high tolerance, but that was almost a full, and I'm not talking like small travel size, like, or trial size kind of bottle, or
It was
like the little rinky dink
huge.
dollar shot type bottle. This was a bottle of whiskey. Straight whiskey. No mixer. Chugging it straight from the bottle. No. Don't drink and drive.
Please.
Please.
If not for yourself, for the people around you.
Yes. All the unhealthy relationships with all of the heightened emotions and drinking and anger issues and everything, how they didn't just kill each other is beyond me. And these people needed help, serious psychological help.
Very toxic
Counseling.
family.
Yes, extremely toxic. It was just bad all around. Apparently both of the parents were cheating. The only somewhat healthy relationship was the daughter and the boyfriend, and it seemed like they were not quite on the same page because one of them was ready to jump in and propose, the other was thinking about calling it quits. So, and the brother was, well, we already mentioned the brother, so...
Yep. He doesn't exist. He's not realistic.
Yeah. So it doesn't make that much sense with the relationships, how they were even still in the same car. I don't also understand how the dad was so upset with the mom for not bringing a local map, when for 20 plus years he had always taken the exact same route and had never once strayed from it. This sounded like a serious tradition, routine, whatever you want to call it, that they had been doing pretty much all the kids' lives. And he's going to decide now to take a different route and not check himself that there's a map there just in case.
Well, plus,
that didn't
like,
make sense.
He did mention it because he's getting sleepy, but honestly, if you're getting that tired...
Pull over!
Yeah, pull over, have your wife drive. It's not that hard.
Even if you're the macho kind of guy that refuses to let anyone else drive, then pull over, get out, stretch your legs a bit, maybe pull into a gas station, get some coffee or a snack. Even just standing up and walking around, though, does wonders for the body. So if you're sitting in one way for long periods of time, especially if you're driving at night, it's going to be very difficult for you to not have your mind wander, have you not drift off.
Yeah.
So standing up, walking around, changing your body position, doing something movement-wise really does make a huge difference. So why he didn't just do that instead of going a completely different way, which he was not familiar with, had never taken before, makes zero sense whatsoever.
Yep. Yeah.
I get that he seemed reluctant to get to the family-in-law's house on time. But I feel like it's a lot more trouble than it's worth, guys. If you're not wanting to be there, taking even longer to get there, I feel like would just a lot of times make it worse, because then you're getting a lot of crap from the people that you don't want to be around about why you were late and taking so long, and now you have to leave right when you just got here, and it becomes a whole thing. So just get there.
Yeah. I mean, both the wife and the husband very much were playing the blame game with each other.
Yes. Serious blame game. Like, it was super toxic family. The dysfunctional doesn't even begin to cover it, guys. Like, it was very, very toxic relationships. Also, not proper gun safety. They had a gun in a case, which, yes, that's fine, but you don't pack ammo with it in the same case. That's not a good thing that you do. And if there are unstable people around, you don't load the gun and leave it unattended. The bullet hole was a huge issue for both of us. She already went through that, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. but it was not how shotguns do, and I'll just leave it at that. So those were my main things, apart from walking in heels as well. She walked way too much in those heels. It took her way too long to take those heels off. No.
It's like, if those heels are that comfortable, tell me what the brand is.
Right?
'Cause I need to know.
In 2003. Yeah, no, and it's not just heels. It was one of the kind of heels with the strappy thing that will cut into your foot.
Yep.
Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It will. It's a matter of time. It will cut into your foot.
Yep.
So. But that's all I had for that one.
Okay.
So.
Well, I think we said our piece on the movie, so you guys can make your judgment on whether or not you would like to watch it. But in the meantime, thank you guys for joining us today, and please comment on what you guys thought of the movie. I would be so interested to let you to know your thoughts on this particular movie, just since it's like, to me it was pretty bad, but for Jess it was less bad, and I just love to hear everyone's opinion on it. But if you'd like to recommend a movie and keep up to date with our content, you can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and most places that you listen to podcasts.
And if you'd like to support the podcast, please subscribe, like, and share our content. We also have a Teespring if you wanted to support us monetarily. And you can find those sites mentioned linked below, along with our tea for the day.
And where to watch the movie.
Yes. And that. Words. Until next time, guys. I can't talk today. This bodes real well. Until the next time, guys, stay safe and stay spoopy. Bye.